It's the Sean Widmer Podcast. It's a journal by someone that just really doesn't like to write.
Good midweek. Good midweek, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Sean Widmer Podcast. As always, I say thank you, but I mean it, so I continue to say it. Someone told me the other day, you really are appreciative. Yeah, I'm appreciative. I think they thought I was being fake on the podcast. I'm not. I appreciate everyone who tunes in. I meant it on Monday when I said there's a lot of podcasts out there, and so the fact that you are spending time with this one, it means a lot. I really like it. Okay, we're gonna make a phone call today to a guy I look up to and a guy I appreciate building a sort of a friendship with. And there's something that's been on my television a ton. I just want to ask questions about it. And for me, I want to do this. I don't know. The Planet of the Apes is probably not the reason you're seeking out a podcast today. Maybe it is, but it's been all over the ads I watch. So we're going to call someone about that. Some dad stuff in there as well. My buddies have started something I think is really cool. I want to promote to y'all to see if you want to try this out. I think it's cool. So that's what's going on in today's podcast. I'm really looking forward to Friday and this weekend. I'm going to try to get a hold of one of my very best friends, Andy, and that excites me way too much. I don't know if that's going to excite y'all. I'm going to just keep saying y'all. It's such a great word. I'm in the South now. I don't hear it a ton, but it's a Southern word. I guess I'm not in the South. I'm in the Middle East, but that one was taken. But Mid-East. I'm in the Mid-East. But everyone calls it the South here. So y'all is around me. It's a great word. It's a great word. Use it, try it, enjoy it. It just comes off the tongue easier than you all. It's a great word to use. Anyways, y'all might not want to hear Andy, but I do. And I'm excited for that. Today, let's focus on today, though. Can we focus on today for crying out loud? I need to give a shout out to somebody because I needed something this week I didn't realize I needed. I needed an attitude adjustment. I needed the flame lit within me. And of course, this guy did it. Why wouldn't he? My buddy Miles is somebody who I've known for a very long time, dating back to the early 2010s. And he was a guy who actually came on a big adventure with Andy. So there you go. Slim's Big Adventure, a thing we did on the Jay and Kevin show back in the day. But I got to meet Miles through the radio show. He's quality people. And I've just really enjoyed getting to know him over the course of my life. A very positive person. I don't think he's ever been negative. That's not true. I heard him be negative one time in a car. One time. We complain a ton, the people who are on this trip we were on. Everyone's complaining. Miles never complains. So when he complained one time, it became the legendary complaint of the entire trip. And Miles, I will not throw you under the bus about what you were complaining about. But it became we repeated the lines that he said over and over. We'd all been complaining, but Miles complained once. And because it's so rare, it lives forever. Anyways, I just really like the guy. He's awesome people. And he started a podcast. I was so excited about this. I mentioned the fact that I love when my buddies start things that I can get on board with. I just love that. And Miles started one, just what the doctor ordered, because he's really smart. So he has the doctor in him, which is... What a flex, Miles. What a flex. I didn't have anything cool, so I just named my podcast after me. Ego much? But it was great, and I love how he's going about it. He's going about it very fun. He's a friendly reminder not to keep these things concise. He did such a great job with his. The way he's approaching his podcast. And this is why I needed to hear it, Miles and everybody. I needed to hear his podcast to remind me what I love about this platform. And he had mentioned the fact that back in the day, we had Facebook the way it was meant to be, Zuckerberg's way. You know, rob from the twins and give to yourself. But we had a time and a platform where you could just post random stuff that you look at now and cringe. You cringe and go, I posted that. But that's what it was. That's what Facebook was in the mid 2000s and late 2000s. It was exactly what you were doing at that time. As dumb as it was, I'm drinking a 2-liter Mountain Dew. Whatever. Like that was what it was about. And I loved it. And so Miles was like, I want to kind of capture that in this form. I want to just put up podcasts that remind me of old Facebook posts. And you know what? Maybe someday you look back and cringe at them, but I think that someday you'll look back at a lot of these, and I hope I am with these, and I look back and I remember a big chunk of life. So I'm excited that he did that. Just what the doctor ordered. It's a fun podcast. Once a week, Miles. That's my recommendation to you. once a week. Don't go more than that. You can see in this podcast, I force it 3 times a week. And by about Wednesday, where are we at? By about Wednesday, 5 minutes in, we're out of steam. Am I right or am I right? I finished Welcome to Wrexham Season 2. I have so many thoughts on that. I don't know if Andy's caught up on it. It might be discussed with him, but it's on my mind. I would love to talk about it at some point. But the Kelly's What Are You Into is not going to be that. It's going to be something my friend started that I would recommend starting with your friend group. But right now, we're going to make a phone call to a guy that I really respect. I really enjoy. I've enjoyed, like with Miles, I've enjoyed getting to know him, his family, and I have seen 50 billion Planet of the Apes commercials. I didn't know those movies were still being made. I feel like Fast and the Furious and Planet of the Apes have this similar vibe to them, that there's just kind of a new movie always out. There's just always one of those in production. At some point in Hollywood, there is, at every point in time, either a Fast and the Furious or a Planet of the Apes movies, or maybe both, being made somewhere in Los Angeles. I need to know a little more about it. I just need to know a little more about it. I don't know why I'm so intrigued by it, but I saw the commercial again today and thought I need to call my buddy Matt. So let's call him. Listen to the Skype. The Skype ringtone is just a banger. It's a hitter, as my buddy Tyler would say. Let's see if he answers.
Hello?
Matt, what's going on, dude?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for just taking a random call about Planet of the Apes on a Wednesday night or Tuesday night. What is tonight? Tuesday night?
It's Tuesday night over here in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know what it is in Kentucky.
It's way late, dude. It's way late. I was so excited to get to talk to you, man. I just really like you. We'll get into that in a second. Did the Mariners win today?
They are currently tied. Cal Raleigh just hit his first career grand slam.
Spoiler for everyone who had it DVR.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, are they good? Are the Mariners good?
They're first in the division as of right now.
Okay.
That could change here shortly, but...
So, Matt, it's weird.
We'll see.
It's weird being out of the Pacific Northwest. When I was in the Pacific Northwest, I followed the Mariners. I would always see the stuff because people at work always talked about it, and I love sports, but I get so into the NBA playoffs right now that my nights are consumed by it. So I never really got into baseball until the NBA playoffs kind of slowed down a little bit. And then when I text you, you were like, I'm watching the Mariners. I'm like, I am so embarrassed. I know so little about them right now. And so thank you for getting me caught up that we're first. We're the best.
Yeah, for now.
Is Julio Rodriguez good?
No, he has hit 1 home run this season. He kind of has cooled off quite a bit.
Oh my gosh! Have you watched the show Welcome to Wrexham?
No, I haven't.
Do you even know what that is?
Yeah, it's the guys.
The guys. It's the guys. It's the show with the guys and the soccer team.
The guys with the soccer.
Guys. It's Ryan Reynolds is one of them, and Rob McElhaney's the other. I had guys here the other night tell me they had no clue who Ryan Reynolds was. These are grown adult males in the United States in their late 30s, early 40s. They're like, who is Ryan Reynolds?
Oh, jeez.
But that's okay. So I'm not crazy in thinking that everyone should know who Ryan Reynolds is.
He's the guy from Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, obviously.
Thank you. Okay, is he most? You're a nerd. I'm a nerd. You know what though? I think you might not be as nerdy as I want you to be.
No, yeah.
You are, and you're always at all the cons. But then you're sitting around watching baseball tonight, and that seems very anti-nerdy of you, Matt.
You're probably playing Warhammer or something, right?
I'm playing Warhammer 40K. I'm out here playing 40K right now. Okay, so here's why I called you. Here's why I needed to call you. I was watching Welcome to Wrexham, the show, and there's a new Planet of the Apes movie that comes out this weekend, and it was every single ad break on Hulu is for the new Planet of the Apes. And I thought, the Planet of the Apes and Fast and the Furious are in continual, let's make a new movie. Is this like the 15th, 10th? I'm not joking. If 10th or 15th iteration of Planet of the Apes?
Let's see here. So there was 5 originals that started in the 60s, and those were the only ones for quite some time. Then there was the 2001 Tim Burton version. So that brings us up to 6. And then this most recent iteration, they rebooted it again in 2011, and they did 3 of those. So yeah, this is actually the 4th one in that series. So yeah, that brings us up to 10.
Okay, because there's a lot of them, and I've seen, Matt, I think I've seen maybe 3 of them, and I think I've seen one from each generation. Because I saw the Tim Burton one when it came out. I was in college. I believe I was in college at the time, and I remember it being a really big deal, really big deal.
Right.
And then I saw one of the new ones, and I've seen one of the old ones when I was young, and I remember thinking, like, this is the most wild movie I've ever seen. I'm in 3rd grade, and like one of my buddy's older brothers was watching it, and I was like, what are we watching? Am I allowed to watch this? I'm not going to tell my parents. So I've never actually seen any of the story. I've just seen a little bit of each version.
Okay, yeah.
But you love them, right?
Yeah,
because didn't you just have like your 30th birthday party, Planet of the Apes themed?
Did you say 30th?
Yeah, wasn't it your 30th birthday party?
Sure, we'll go with that. Yeah. They just they reopened the Garland Theater under the new management back in March, and it just happened to coincide with my birthday. So we had a little screening for some family and friends, and we watched the original 1968 Planet of the Apes. So yeah, it's probably my favorite all-time movie franchise, I would say.
Okay, so I am intrigued with it, to say the least, because every time the commercial came up, there's part of me that was like, I need to know, I need to get into it. You know, the nerdy part of me was like, this is something in my life I need to at least dive into a bit. For somebody who has, like I told you, seen one movie out of each one of the eras, like how do I approach this? Is trying to be excited about a new Planet of the Apes movie that's coming out, and like trying to get in on the hype while the hype machine's going?
Well, I think what they're doing with this one is kind of clever, because it's technically the 4th movie in this latest reboot, but it's the first one in a new trilogy. And I want to say you probably don't really need to know everything that happened in the last 3 movies to get this one. They'll probably hit the key points for you. But what they're doing is they're jumping ahead 300 years from the last movie. So they're kind of getting more in line with the original movies that are set in the distant future. So they're slowly kind of getting back into how it originally was, as the futuristic world where the apes are ruling. And the last 3 movies were pretty much the story of how they took over the planet and everything. But now they're really getting into the apes running the show.
Okay. Are they good? Are they good?
I enjoyed them. These last ones, I mean, the most recent one, which was because they did in 2011, they did Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And then the second one, which is kind of weird, I think they kind of flip-flopped the titles. They should have reversed them. But the second one was Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which should have been first. And then the third one was War for the Planet of the Apes, I believe. And I didn't like that one as much as the first 2, but altogether, I think they've done a really good job with them.
Okay. I have strong opinions. I have strong opinions on like Star Wars, right? So that would be like my nerdy franchise that I love. I have strong opinions. So when someone asks me about how to watch the movies, I'm very specific in answering, like, selfishly. You just did a really good job of I feel like treating me with kids' gloves a bit, which I really appreciate because I'm bad at that. But like if you were like the Planet of the Apes in you that really cherishes the franchise, and you say, screw it, you're not going to see all the movies before Friday, but I want you to watch them in this order. Is it still the same? Like, are you still telling me watch the new ones and then eventually go back to the old ones?
Yeah, I think if you just needed a quick primer for this new one, the 3 most recent would be the ones to watch. You don't really need to know much about the original movies to enjoy these ones. There's little Easter eggs and little winks and nods to the originals here and there. But if you didn't if you didn't know what you were looking for, it's just part of the story. You don't need to catch it. But once you go back and watch all of them, you say, oh yeah, I remember they kind of alluded to that in this one. But I think for your reasons, if you're just getting primed for the new Kingdom one, these last three would be all you really need to watch.
And let's say I'm just trying to dive into the whole series. Is there a
Right.
because of Star Wars? I there's people who go watch from 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I believe
Oh, okay.
I'm a big 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. I'm a believer in watching them when they were released. I think that order works well. Is that the same with Planet of the Apes? Is it kind of like release order, the best order?
Yeah, because with these ones, their release have all been chronological, so there really isn't. It's not necessary to really jump around at all. But yeah, there's definitely a few in the original series you could skip if need be. But yeah, these ones you can just watch them straight through.
Okay.
1 through 5 and 1 through 3, and then you don't need to rewatch the Tim Burton one ever again if you don't want to.
I remember thinking it was cool when I saw it at Regal Cinemas at Northtown. I really do. Matt, I remember thinking like this was a fun. I remember thinking that this was a fun time, but that also, I who knows if I was with people that I like was just enjoying the company of, because I went with a bunch of the mall rats. We worked at the mall, so I just went with a bunch of the mall rats after work. So maybe I was just in a good mental spot. Was it that bad?
I mean,
That's
since
a yes.
you haven't
That's
watched
a yes.
any
That's a yes.
of the originals, you were coming into it with a clean slate. So I'm sure from that perspective, it was just a fun little action movie. But when you're comparing them to the originals, like I did at the time, it's like, ooh, this is not nearly as good. And it was because there's a lot more like psychological and political stuff woven throughout the original series. And they just kind of abandoned all of that for that one. But for what it is, it's a good enough movie, okay. I suppose.
Cool. All right. Well, I needed some Planet of the Apes knowledge. I'm not letting you go quite yet. Did you notice how I never really even introduced you? This is my buddy Matt.
Oh.
And now I never know how to say your last name. Is it Brazee?
Yeah.
I always, even on the radio days, I never said your last name because I didn't want to butcher it because I didn't know what sound the A made. So I was just like Matt. But Matt Brazee. And Matt is the reason I have a cool piece of art for the podcast. He's the guy who did the caricature, and I really have always appreciated that. He even put me in a comic because Sprocket had me in a comic book at one point, which was, Matt, that was way cooler than I think you understood for me. That was one of those moments because I love comic books, and seeing my own caricature in a comic book, that was a really big deal for me. I don't know if I ever really thanked you for that.
Well, I'm sure you did, but yeah, it's nice to hear that you appreciated that as much as you did.
Yeah, I mean, like a ton, like beyond a ton.
You might be making a little comeback here shortly too.
Oh, okay, that's great. Good, thank you. The other thing I wanted, let's just get real. I'm going to get real with you and then let you go. But is it okay if I get real with you for a second?
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay. Well, a couple things. One, everyone needs to. What's the best platform for people to follow you on? To see your art. To see your art.
Instagram.
Okay.
I'm a visual guy.
All right. And is it just the Matt Brazee? Brazee, right?
Actually, on Instagram, I am Matty Breeze, Breeze.
Hey, you're so confusing.
1984.
Okay. It's your stuff is awesome. I love your artwork's great. So anyways, you got to go check him out. His artwork's great. But the reason I wanted to get real with you, you have awesome kids, man. You have awesome kids. Your wife is awesome. You're awesome. You have awesome kids. Any interaction I've ever had with any of your kids has been a wonderful experience, and it's left me like in a positive mental state. They're just great humans. Your kids are great humans. So that means that you and your wife have done. I think you and your wife have done a spectacular job. It's something that I like see your kids' stuff, and my brain just getting starting on this parenting journey looks to you as like, okay, Matt did a really, really good job with getting his kids to where they are because they're awesome. So give me like a dad thing you tell me that I need to do, like that you look back with your kids who are now a little bit older, and you're so thankful that as they were growing up, you maybe did this or you poured into this part of their life, like something that you did because your kids are rad?
Oh, geez. Man. Well, first of all, thank you for all those kind words. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, it's really hard. It was really hard for me to come up with nice words about your kids. What are you talking about, man? Your kids are rad, dude.
They have their moments, yeah. Mariners just took the lead, by the way.
There we go. Thank you, Karma.
Yeah, I mean, we've always just tried to just include them in all of our hobbies and everything. Like you were saying with the Comic-Con, they grew up in that environment and they were always running around, and it's just kind of, I don't know if that's really an answer or not, but just being there and having them be involved and vice versa. I guess that's the best advice I can really offer for you.
Okay. I always thought it was cool, man. I always remember seeing you post stuff and you would be at an event that you would like to be, and like Hunter would be there. Like he'd be there and he'd be hyped. Right. So like you'd be at a wrestling event and Hunter's there and he's as hyped as anybody who's there. And I remember just thinking like, I didn't have kids at the time. I remember thinking, I want that. Like that is something that Matt is demonstrating that I think is really, really cool, to like take your kids to the stuff that you like and be there to like get excited about it with them. I thought that would look really cool, man.
Yeah, just share your hobbies and passions with them, and sometimes they'll pick up on it, and sometimes not so much, and you have to readjust and find something else. But yeah, that's probably the best thing I could tell you.
Was there a hobby that you had a hard time getting into?
Me, myself?
Yeah, like that you're willing to admit now, like one of your kids got into a hobby and you go, I just got to do it. I've just got it. Because I have a fear of this with my daughter in dance, because I've heard dance contests or dance competitions are like a 30-hour event. I'm terrified of them.
Oh, yeah.
And my daughter loves dancing and my wife loves dance. And I'm just telling myself, be excited, because my daughter, and I think it's, once it starts happening and it's your kid, you can get into it. But we're not there yet. And it's just, I'm worried about these long days standing there waiting for my daughter to dance for 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's like with Madison and her volleyball, because she did for a few years there. She was doing club volleyball, and then she did school ball, and she did summer beach ball. So they all overlap. So it was year round, and those events are like when you go to a tournament, you drive for 4 or 5 hours to get there, and then you're sitting for another 8 or 9 hours watching them play. That can grate on you. And that was, it wasn't a problem for Jessie, because she played too, and that's her passion is volleyball. So she was always way into it, but it was always a little bit tough for me to really give my all at those really long tournament days. That's for sure.
I could see that. All right, man. Well, I told you I'd steal 5 minutes, and I think I stole like 15. So go M's.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate you so much. You've been an awesome example parenting, just so you know, from afar. I know you're younger than me and I'm an old man, but I've started this whole thing. I started this whole thing late. And so I appreciate the example you guys set up, again, because your kids are rad, man. All right. Well, thank you. I'm going to go check out some Planet of the Apes this week, Matt.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, bud.
See you, man. There he is. I really like that guy, Matt Brazee. Good dude. Well, great dude. And someone I'm very thankful to have gotten to know. Again, someone I got to meet through the radio show. And again, he's the reason if you're watching on YouTube, the caricature that goes in the background, that floats in the background, that's Matt's drawing. And he's done a couple different versions of it. He did that. He had a version where I had hair. That was cool. And then he was kind enough to realize that I didn't have hair. And he drew the non-hair version, but was also kind enough not to make me all the way bald, which was sweet. He just said, like, look, you got the receding hairline on the sides. We're going to give you a little hair and not make it look terrible. So, you're not Professor X, but I thought he crushed it. And then he did one with a cowboy hat for me, which was great. I used that for my Red Dead Redemption 2 streams. So thank you, Matt, for everything. Can we get into Kelly's What Are You Into?
Kelly's What Are You Into?
His kids are also rad. I wasn't just like trying to be nice. They're so I hope and pray that my kids give off the vibe his kids give off, because I think you'll know the kids I'm talking about. Maybe you have these kids or someone you know has these kids. They're genuinely great to be around in their teenage years, which I think is when they were teenagers and they'd come by events and I'd see them at events and stuff. They were just genuinely great people to talk to, and I don't think that's every teenager, because I've also been around a lot of teenagers, pointing at myself, who probably were miserable to be around. If you were a real grown-up adult around me as a teenager, you're probably like, how about you get the F out of here? So, to say things bluntly. But I appreciate that. So anyways, I wasn't just making that up to make him feel good. They're rad kids. They're probably nicer than he is. What am I into right now? I got to give a shout out to Ryan Ferguson, my guy. Woo! My day one. The one guy, every time Darnay used to give me a hard time. He's like, you have too many best friends. You say too many people are your best friends. And I probably do that too much. I've been very fortunate to have a lot of guys who I really like. But every time I would like to say like, oh man, my best friend Andy is coming on Friday. And we're going to talk to him about how Andy's ruined friendships for me. We're going to talk about that coming up this week on the podcast with Andy. But every time I think of it, Ryan's been there from the very beginning, and he's just my guy. Like he's the dude. So we talk all the time. Ryan and I talk all the time, every single day. There's not a day that goes by where I do not talk with Ryan on Marco Polo. We're always there. And so we also have a group of the cousins, which is Ryan, he's my cousin, his brother Scott, my brother Travis, and then Kenny Beefus, who we've brought in as a cousin in the group. So we've got this group of 5, and we talk a lot. We get on Marco Polo and talk a lot. We do fun fantasy sports together and stuff. It's a fun little group. And Ryan started something this month that I highly recommend. He is doing a Song of the Day, little Song of the Day challenge. And the way we're doing it is Ryan has the month of May. I'm going to take the month of June. Kenny, Travis, or Scott's going to take July, probably Scott, because that's when he's in his off season from work. And then, Kenny and then Travis. And every day you send a song to the group. And you don't have to explain why you sent it. You can. I'm sure that I'll be way more wordy in why I sent the songs out that I send. But every day you send out a song. Today, Ryan sent out Pieces by Sum 41. And it was great. I hadn't heard that in forever. And he sent out Wake Up yesterday by the Arcade Fire, a song that was the intro song to Spokane Sports Show. Shout out to Chris Hofstrand for helping me make the decision on that song way back in the day. But he's every day sending one song. So I wake up in the morning and I've got the new song of the day and I get to listen to it that day. And it's been really, really fun. I think it's been a fun exercise for Ryan because you got to go through our past and you got to go through his past. And we all really like each other. So it's kind of fun to hear the music that each of us like. And whether it's a new song, if Ryan's like a boring John Legend fan, he's transitioned from Sum 41 songs as a kid to now he listens to boring old man music. But it's fun to hear like a song Ryan likes now and put that to his personality, and then know that the next day I could get an old weird rock song from the early 2000s that was his pump up song for high school football. It's been really an enjoyable treat a weekend. I'm already excited for tomorrow's song. Like, what's it going to be? Where's Ryan going to go with it? So I challenge you to do it. Get together with a group of friends who you're close with and say, okay, we're going to do it. Song of the day. One person sends one song every day. Okay. And then at the end of the month, another person takes over. We have found it to be extremely enjoyable. I would highly recommend you trying it with your groups. So there you go. There's my Kelly's What Are You Into? A little something for you. Okay, let's do comments, and then let's get the heck out of here, All right, Ian said this. Ian, this is on Sean'sLife.com, one of the ways you can get your comments read at the end of the podcast. Ian said this. If you had to choose a Star Trek to go in... Okay, if you had to choose a Star Trek to go into Star Wars, or a Star Trek ship... Sorry. There's a word missing there, Ian. That's my fault. If you had to choose a Star Trek ship to go into Star Wars or a Star Wars ship to go into Star Trek, which and why? Ian, I love a question in the comments. I love a question. Thank you. He says, caveat, it can't be a space station. So like Deep Space Nine is out, unfortunately, as much as I want to include the Death Star. It's out for obvious reasons. Can't be a specific ship and a specific crew. It's just a generic ship and a generic crew. For instance, Galaxy class vessel will be just that. It won't be the Enterprise or the Yamato, and you could choose a Republic cruiser, but you'll just be a random Jedi, not Obi-Wan. And they have to abide by the universe's physics, like the Borg could be rendered useless by the Force, etc. This is an awesome question, Ian. I don't know what you're doing at work, and I know there's people right now who are like, what the heck did you just read, Sean? What I just read is magic. All right, nerds? What I just read is a brilliant question. And my answer is not going to be brilliant, Ian. And I love the caveat of it cannot be a specific ship, right? It can't be the Millennium Falcon. It can't be the Enterprise. If I thought of it with those terms, I probably would choose the Enterprise. The Enterprise is rad. I think the Enterprise is super cool. And I'm more of a Star Wars guy than a Star Trek guy. So here's what I'm picking. I'm taking a Star Wars ship into the Star Trek world. I don't know as much about the Star Trek world. I spent a lot of time with Star Trek The Next Generation. That's kind of my Star Trek knowledge base comes from that. A little bit with Deep Space Nine, but mainly Next Generation. I've always felt like the Star Wars tech is more advanced than the Star Trek tech. And I may be wrong about that, again, but that's what I've felt. And so I think this is bad because I want to be a good guy. I don't want to be a bad guy. But, dude, I think TIE Fighters rule. I think TIE Fighters freaking rule. I think they rock. And I know that it's not even a big ship. You don't get a crew. It's just you. So it's a little lonely out there in space. But, man, the sound they make, they're fast. It's like a Lamborghini of outer space. It's a race car. It's an F1 car. I love an X-Wing. I love a Y-Wing. I love the good guys. But there is something about a TIE Fighter that I've got to say it's the TIE Fighter, man. That's it. It's TIE Fighter. Give me a TIE Fighter in Star Trek. I want it to be good, so I'm going to be a good guy who stole a TIE Fighter from a bad guy. And let's say I was on a bad, I was captured and escaped. And right there was a TIE Fighter, and I got in it, and I left, and I got away, and I found a portal into Star Trek, and now I'm a good guy rocking a TIE Fighter in Star Trek, where they don't know it's a bad guy ship. They just think it's a good guy ship, because I'm a good guy doing good guy things. The one passenger thing's a bit of a problem, but I think it'd be rad. Ian, that's a great comment. Let's see. This one literally just came in. This one just came in 30 seconds ago while I'm recording from Ron. That was really weird. Video game-wise, I'm really into the storylines mode of MLB The Show 24. I just finished Derek Jeter storylines, and it's a mix of 30 for 30 with playable moments. The Negro League storylines are great too. Ron, I needed someone to talk MLB The Show 24 with me. Last year and this year, I haven't got MLB The Show. Last year, I didn't get it because my life was crazy. There was a lot going on, and I felt like after MLB The Show 22, I just needed a break from MLB The Show because they hadn't done a lot to really get me. I remember when I started the podcast and said, keep them concise? Good job, Miles. You're better than me at this. Congratulations. I keep waiting for MLB The Show to deliver the thing that I need, which is a great online franchise. That's what I want, online dynasty. I want a great online dynasty mode. And the thing Ron's talking about, I'm always intrigued with, but never do, because when I start up at MLB The Show, I want to get into franchise mode. I want to get my team. I want to play through seasons with them, and that's what I want to do. But they've added in MLB The Show these great things, the storylines. And like Ron said, you play the Derek Jeter one, and if I'm correct, Ron, you play in moments, right? So you play in historic Derek Jeter moments, and you recreate the situation. The situation is there, and now you're playing in this moment, and you feel the pressure, and you can understand kind of how hard it was with Derek Jeter, whoever the player you chose, whatever they did. I think they're cool. And then I think most of them come with highlights. Like you said, it's a mix of 30 for 30 with playable moments, so you get to see a lot of the cool stuff that made these guys great. Ron, I love that. I mean, you talk about wanting to make me buy a game. That's all it took. It took one message from stinking Ron. You dirty dog. That came in while I was recording. That came in while I was reading Ian's comment, which is partially why I stumbled over Ian's comment. Yvonne said this on Spotify, another way you can comment. This weekend was great. Andrew was the main event at Galactic Warfare Wrestling Show. Very cool. It was on May 4th, so Star Wars themed. That's awesome. I love that. Who was he? Who was he, Yvonne? What character was he? Was he a Star Trek character in a Star Wars world? It's nice to see the kids in the pool. Give Jovi hugs and kisses from Auntie. Yeah, Yvonne, preach. It was great to see the kids in the pool. That you and me both. You and me both. And I will. Jovi is still all over the place. We love her to death. She's that dog, man. That dog. She is so food driven. Yeah, if I'm making the kids something, she will act all day like she can't do anything. She just wants to lay around. The second I start making food, she is suddenly an Olympic athlete and can leap over a 5-foot barricade to pounce onto the counter and eat the kids' eggs and pancakes. And then 2 hours later, you're like, Jovi, you want to get up and go outside? She's like, I can't move, dude. What do you think? I'm an old dog. I can't even get off the couch. You're like, where were I was here 2 hours ago. I saw you, you freak. She's awesome, though. All right, let's go to YouTube. Let's wrap it up with YouTube. We've got a couple comments there. Rick Jr. said this. Love this. You guys make me laugh. That was a comment on my wife and I talking about minivans. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate the comments on YouTube. And Roberta, who I love so much. Roberta, you're the best. Roberta, I owe you Farscape. Did I ever tell you I started Farscape, Roberta? Made it 3 episodes in, and then got sidetracked with something in life, probably stress. And I forgot to keep watching it. So it's still on. I enjoyed the first 3 episodes. Anyways, Roberta, that's between you and me. Let's just cut that from the podcast. Roberta said this, the Sean Widmer podcast, this was my first podcast starting back in the day. Thank you, Roberta. She goes on to say, I love that you include all kinds of things. I'm always amused when my son is, okay, I didn't know this word, kibitzing? I don't know what that means. I hope it's not a bad word. It's from Roberta, so I don't think it is. When my son is kibitzing from his room as I listen to the nerdy video game section. Yeah, Ross has to be like, why is my mother listening to Sean talk about Stardew Valley? Like, what? I had to pick up, okay, she said I had to pick up the last few episodes of Wrexham 2. Thanks for that initial recommendation. Roberta, I just finished it. I don't want to get into it because like Miles' podcast, this is a concise podcast. I keep these episodes right around 15 minutes, and that's where we're going to stay tonight, right around 15 minutes. So I'm up against it. I got to be done. Another 15-minute episode coming up on Friday, and then hopefully this weekend, a long, extended, awesome episode for the Patreon folks. If you would be so kind, if you can support the podcast in any way, it would be much appreciated. And it's going to help me upgrade a couple things because I had one thing go out this week and I was like, dang it. But you know what? The Patreon people have helped me get a couple things replaced, which has been awesome. And if you want to help support the podcast, that'd be great. Sean Widmer Podcast on Patreon, patreon.com/Sean Widmer Podcast. You also, if you are a sponsor of it, you get some bonus content, you get bonus episodes. And I'll tell you, there's like the higher tier. You're crazy to be at the higher tier, you crazy people. You're going to be getting some additional bonus content this weekend. So be excited. Thank you for listening. 15 minutes is up. Gotta go.